Lips Podcast. This is episode 6. We have a special guest today, Mr. Ryan Clark.
Who I get to be Mr. too. I like when they call me Mr. It makes me feel adult. I should have wore a tie.
Should have.
No, I can't wear a tie. Both of y'all have on hoodies though.
Yeah, we want to put on our hoodies and stuff.
I like it. I appreciate it. So this is episode 6.
It is.
Episode 6. So is it going well? Do you think it's going good? How you feel about it?
It's going. We're still trying to find our footing. So we had a few hiccups, but overall we have like pretty good feedback. But things we need to work on, like I don't know, just stuff.
Finding our way. I think that it's going really well. Definitely, I'm a big fan of the pivot. That Ryan Clark definitely does an amazing job spearheading. And we pick up a lot of your tactics. We steal all of your ideas. We take pictures at the beginning. We do all of that.
I like it.
And we follow a lot of what you do, so we definitely wanted to tap in and have you here because definitely we're inspired by what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the podcast space has definitely gotten crowded. Like if you look at it's basically the new social media, and we've kind of had that conversation with people in our circle on the pivot that this is going to be now how people get out their thoughts, how they share, how they connect. And so you got to find something that makes you different, whether it's the people you have on your show, the conversations you have, or just the way you do it, but you got to make it you. Because the process of it is the same everywhere, right? People sit down, they talk. So it's what puts you in a different space outside of what everyone else is doing. And I think for us, like we got blessed to get the right people on the show, and so those right people start the conversations that lead to deeper conversations in the culture, in the community, and then it's the pressure of just keeping it up. And if you can keep it up and keep everything moving in the right direction and focus on the content, I think the rest of it handles itself. What you guys do, I think is hard though, because when you don't have a ton of guests, you do have to share a lot about yourself. And in sharing a lot about yourself, you also put yourself in a position to be rejected. Like podcasts, when I do TV, I get to entertain and I know I have to be certain parts of a show. When you do a podcast, you're truly giving people who you are. And so they get to say whether they like that or they don't. And I do think that that's challenging.
Yeah, they tell me all the time, be quiet. You always finishing her sentences. But it's like our podcast is kind of based off of our conversation as friends. So that's what we do. My friend is a little absent-minded, so on phone conversations, I have to finish her sentences because it's hard for her to get a story out, or she'll start a story from the middle, and then I have to try to figure out how it started so we can get to the end and find a solution. It's like, so when we do our podcast, like it's kind of a habit,
I'm always
but in the comments, some people are like, shut up.
I will say this though, the comments are difficult. And like the hard part about it is this, right? Those are the people you're trying to reach, and you want those people to enjoy the content you give them. And as in, like, I don't want to change who I am, but I also want to do a show that they want to watch, that they enjoy, and pieces of that information is to help them or to guide me into making sure they enjoy the show. But you also can't change who you are.
Right.
And I had to learn that too, though, in podcasting, because I wanted everything to be a conversation. I was like, because I wanted our voices to always carry weight, because you don't know if you're going to get a great guest or if you're even going to have a guest in general. But when we started, Chan and Fred, they were so into beating the other show. And in beating the other show that they came from, they felt like we had to have these guests that would build the show up, right? You want the Floyd Mayweathers, and you want the Shaquille O'Neals, and you want the Kevin Harts, because people are going to come to see them. But if they're coming to see them and you aren't necessarily a part of the show, then they're not coming to see you. And so when you don't have them, it's all right, why are people tuning in? And so it was that space for me where I had to learn, okay, it's an interview and you have to give your guest space to talk. And now if Channing's talking and it's just us three, now you got to figure out that double dutch of, okay, this is Channing, this isn't another guest. Or this is Fred, this isn't another guest. And so I think it's about repetition, and you are like not gonna be great all the time. Like you're gonna have an off day, like you're gonna be tired, or the conversation isn't gonna flow. So don't be hard on yourself because people are saying you talk too much. But I do know from just when people are listening, if you talk over one another, they can't actually hear anybody. You know, so that's the hard part. But that's the other piece of why so many podcasts don't make it, is because you don't have that driving force. And if only like we're listening, so say just it's the three of us listening, or it's just y'all two listening, because you're used to conversing like that, it doesn't stick out to you. You're like, nah, that's how me and my girl talk.
Exactly.
And you feel like it's a podcast. Podcast's supposed to be conversation. But there are like little nuances to it that you just gotta understand. And I think, you know, you only just 6. It's not like you've done 60 and they're saying that. And so you'll get it.
So what has been the most impactful part of your job? I know you get different guests on the show that really like allow you to see another side of, you know, other people's stories and lives outside of what you see in the media, because you do a lot of reporting. But what you think about that?
I don't know. We've had some very impactful. I think obviously Michael Beasley is the one that comes to mind, and it's the one that people talk about the most, because I believe it made us the pivot. It wasn't the biggest guest. I think we had Floyd before him, and we had some other guests that were probably bigger names that had accomplished more, but he gave us an opportunity to tap into pieces of ourselves that people also didn't get to see. To have somebody break down the way he did in front of the camera was, for us, monumental, also a little bit intimidating, and it took you out of the camera TV space though, because we had to be human and we had to try to connect with this brother that was dealing with some things. And while it's happening, you don't really know, because we forgot the cameras were there. And so then when you get an opportunity to see the clips or you watch it back yourself, you realize how emotional of a moment it was. Like Chan cried, I cried, Fred's too cool to cry probably, you know, but it was just one of those things. And when you have conversations with people now about the show, that's kind of when people started to notice us, and it made other people want to come on our show, right? It made Shaq want to come on the show. Michael Beasley's the reason we got Charlemagne on the show. Like that was the clip that was shared to all of these people, kind of that set us in a different realm from other podcasts. Yeah, because it kind of became therapy.
I think the only thing I don't want for our podcast is to be like messy and drama. Like I want it to stay authentic. Like I don't want to feed into what society has going on to gain followings and ratings and stuff like that. So I think that's hard too, because some of the topics that we talked about are really deep and really good, and they got not so many views, but then other things that seemed on the outside that it was gonna be like drama, or you know, it just like everybody gravitated toward that, and I just hate that about society right now. It's just like it's hard to like find your way in society now if you're not into those type of things. Like I battle with that in the podcast and life, all of that, because I hate it.
I mean, it's not, I think you can talk about topics that are quote unquote messy, because we're from Louisiana. People say petty, but we always say messy. And I have to do that on TV too, or when I'm on the podcast, like, oh, they don't say messy. And they might not even know what the hell I'm talking about if I say messy. But for us, that's what it was, right? Like your mama always told, like, don't be messy.
Please.
Like out the gate. And so there's a way to talk about those things, and if you weren't messy or if you weren't petty, it won't be. But you got to realize too, you're building a brand, and people want to hear about what they want to hear about. Like people want to, if they're going to eventually be fascinated by your voices, they want your voices on things that they care about. They may not know you well enough or care enough about you to care about your life. But they will care about, I don't know.
Hershon and Blueface.
I'm not talking about them. Like ever in life.
I know.
Like that's a level. But that's a level of foolishness I won't talk about. But you also have to understand, if you're speaking on it from an evolved point of view, and it may be even speaking about her and saying, I've been in that place before, or I've been that crazy before, or you know what? No, I've never like spit my food back out, or you know, or said out loud, are you gonna F me tonight? Like I've never been that. But that's the space she's in. Here is how I see it. And you don't have to be like negative about her. Right. You could just tell the truth from an evolved state of mind of like, I'm grown now. Right. That's not something I would do. She's a younger lady. Maybe she grows out of it. Here is what I see. And I think there are ways to do that. But it's just like, so on Get Up, we talk about the Cowboys a ton. I'm tired of talking about the Cowboys. But the Cowboys rate. So my bosses and the host of the shows understand we got to talk about the Cowboys. And so now it's my job to talk about the Cowboys in a way today that I hadn't talked about in the last 18 weeks. But that's my job. And people are tuning in for that. So now where's my space in that so I can elevate myself? I can elevate my brand. I can do good TV. And those are the pieces of a podcast or of any piece of entertainment that you gotta understand, because nobody wants to hear you talk about nothing, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
And so then it's like, okay, how do I talk about what they want to hear and implement myself into it to where people start to get a connection to me, to where eventually I can speak about the things that are important to me and people care.
I tell her that all the time. She began back on our podcast, and when I did Surviving the Married Man, she was like, I mean, everything just went through the roof. The numbers went up, you know, just a lot of communication and stuff like that. And I told her, I said, you need to share your story. She was like, I don't live there anymore. I'm not driving.
What's your story?
She's like, What's your like? She's
it's just like a typical story.
You was
like,
a stripper.
I always wanted to be a stripper. We both did, but we never made it.
I am one.
Do you have to make it to be? Are they stripper trials?
No, like we're too old now. But we wanted to be that, like when we were younger, but it didn't happen for us like that.
They got some people on sugardaddy.com.
But you know, strippers, they don't even take their clothes off anymore, so we might still have a chance. But our knees.
Your knees not good enough?
No. We don't have good knees for that.
I have good knees.
No, like, I just don't want to talk about the same thing over and over. Like, especially if, I mean, we're different. So, she told her story. It was a great story. I lived it with her. It was a great story. But, it's like, basically, I'm going to be telling the same story. Just a different man. And he wasn't married. But it doesn't matter, because it's still a relationship, and the ups and downs of a relationship that failed. I don't want to keep talking about that.
But it does matter.
Especially if I've healed from it. We heal differently. So if that's your therapy to come on and tell your story from what you heal from, my therapy is simply healing from it and moving on. I don't want to revisit hurt. So that's why I'm not really excited about talking about that, and I'm not passionate about that.
Talk about?
Everything.
But I mean, the thing is this though, that's a story.
It is.
Right? Not the story she's asking you to tell. The story of you healing differently.
Yes.
You don't have to go back into your trauma, and maybe you do. My wife is getting her master's in psychology, and so this is off the subject, and I'm gonna get back to the subject, but I can do this because I'm a guest. Right?
Correct.
So like when we argue, there's certain things, we have certain rules in our arguments. She, and I know this is not a word, she can't psychologize me. Right? Like don't talk to me, don't diagnose me, Don't ask me where my trauma is coming from or what in my past has led me to the point to where I'm addressing you this way. That ain't got nothing.
Yes,
You getting an attitude with me right now don't have nothing to do with my past. I am reacting to this attitude I am receiving. That's what I'm reacting to. That's it. And so her rule is I can't talk in my TV voice. Right? So because what happens for me is in working to be calm, I talk like this. And to her, that's me doing TV, which it kind of is. It brings me to debate, but I'm trying to make my points in a way where she understands them, right? So we have, we have those rules that you can't argue or do things like this. And I think that's that can be part of your show, right?
Explain that.
That okay, this is how Brandy deals with life. This is how I deal with life. And in explaining that, it explains why you won't tell that story. But that's also a piece of who you are. And I think in any topic that comes up, you're going to answer from your perspective. We had the Deshaun Watson topic, and Fred, who had spoken to Deshaun and knows a little bit, like he was kind of on Deshaun's side. And then we had Channing, who was like, nah, that joke's weird, bro. Right. Like, even if it's not what everyone's saying it is, it's some weirdo stuff going on, right? And I agree. But I also know I can only speak from the facts that I'm given. And so for me, it was to be empathetic toward the quote-unquote victims or the accusers, in the sense that their reality can be what they're saying it is. And then it was also for me to be a former football player, to be the father of a football player, to be a black man, right, who has been successful, and see from his point of view how there could be things that are untruths. Right. And I know his agent really well, so we talked. And so I had to be in a place of neutrality when I was like, okay, I got to try to see it from both sides and be empathetic or sympathetic to whatever. But that's entertainment. And so if you're telling people, like, it's like now is the first time ever in America that like black people are truly trying to heal and being okay with needing to.
Yes.
So for you to say, I don't heal like she does, like that's not part of like the way I rock or the way I work, then that's cool. Like me and my wife, we don't like, that's not how it works for us. Like I'm like, hey man, I know we just got in a fight, but like I really want to tickle you.
Like, don't touch me.
Yeah. That don't make no sense though.
Yes, it does.
What we finna be mad for all day?
It takes time. Like, it's not like a switch that you can turn up. If you agitate me, like, don't tickle me. Like, go over there until I calm down, and then I'll let you know when you can tickle me. Like, that's the way.
Don't give me this. But like, so, and a tickle is a very literal, like, example of what I want to do. I don't necessarily want to tickle her, but I also feel like how long we gotta be mad.
But that's the difference in a man. Okay, let's go there, because we always need a man's perspective.
Slap the table on me. Don't slap the table on me. Scared of you slapping no table?
That's our music right now.
That's how we do it. So we never have a male perspective on our show. So this is a perfect example of how men are not emotional as women. So it's like your wife is still mad because clearly you agitated her, like something is going on. But immediately in a man's mind, you're like, okay, we had an argument, it's over. Oh, we need time. Like, we're different. We need time.
For what though?
To not be agitated.
But so I get that. You need time. If we're in a place, or if we're in a spot to where we've had a disagreement, I feel like disagreements are different, right? There are things that come down to respect and disrespect that I do understand take time to actually heal from, in a sense to where I feel like I can look at you the same way or feel the same way about you, or you feel the same way about me. Like, I get that. if we have a disagreement or if there's a misalignment in what we think certain decisions are, ain't no reason to be mad about that, because as we go forward, that's probably not going to change, right? In the sense that, like, if I married you, I'm married to her, like, I know who she is. Like, I know there are certain things she's not going to come off of. And I'm not actually trying to convince her, because you ain't going to change. And it's not necessarily that you guys I need time to not be agitated, right? It's not that. It's that feminine energy and masculine energy are two different things, right? And everything to most women, and is that it's about the intimacy of the relationship. And I don't mean like the sexual part and all that. It's that, like, for you guys, like that communal bond between man and woman, or your spouse or your loved ones or whatever it is extremely important at all times, and everything factors into that. That's not how we work, right? Everything doesn't factor in to that bond. Like, some things we just don't agree on. And actually, you disagreeing with me, I don't really care. And my wife knows this, and like, we have a rule. I got a 9 out of 10 rule.
Okay.
I need to win one argument.
Out of 9?
Out of 10.
I mean, out of 10,
That's
good.
it. That's it. And it can actually be like the 28th argument.
But that would be
or
the strongest.
disagreement. No, as in I'm never changing. As in, this argument, no matter what happens, no matter what you tell me, this is something that I am not coming off of.
So it should be like, this my one.
No, I don't. I think she knows. I think she's been and two, the other piece of it is, I actually don't care about a lot. And so it's not even like the emotion in it. Just, I love that pause. Y'all edit that. It's very loud.
We hear it all the time in our videos.
And so like, for me, just because I don't agree doesn't mean I think that you're wrong. And so many times we get into these discussions and somebody has to be wrong or somebody has to be right. And that's where we have the issue. I don't have to be right. I think if you can understand my perspective, though, I'm solid. And I don't need to talk anymore. If you could say, hey, I get that, or I get why you might feel that way. I can see where you're coming from. I still disagree because my feeling are my feelings, and your feelings are valid. I think everybody's feelings are valid, but I feel like what happens is when we're disagreeing, there's always one of us who doesn't want to validate the other's feelings, especially in the emotion of the moment. And if one person can come down and say, all right, in the emotion of the moment, this is what I feel, but I also see why you're hurt, I also see why you're upset, I also see why you disagree. I'm good with that. See, that's how I am. Because in general, especially like the smaller things, like, I'm not leaving her over nothing small. So why am I going to ruin my day? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to walk around with the mush mouth all day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't even home enough for that. So you mean to tell me, like, I'm home for these 3 little poo days and we finna be mad?
Okay, but listen. I agree with you. I'm the same way personality-wise. Like, I don't really care about a lie. Like, I'm not going to stay mad for long. But in a relationship, if a woman is mad, you can't be like, oh, I'm not going to be here for long. Let's not worry about what we argued about. Let's just tickle each other all for these 3 days. Like, no.
But tickling leads to other good stuff.
I know. That's what I'm talking about. We're not tickling for 3 days if I'm mad. So if you know you only going to be home for 3 days, then you need to fix this so we can tickle each other. Okay? That's what I'm saying.
I think it's you learn the person you're with, and you try your best. Like, I don't like vacation. I don't like taking trips. I don't like water. I don't like sand.
I don't like sand.
I don't like pools, excursions. I basically don't like anything that other people consider as a good time or relaxing. I don't know how to relax well because I always feel like there's something to do. And so, you know, my wife was just straight up. She was like, you know what? If you don't start going places, I'm just going to take trips by myself. Right? So then now, right, she ain't slick. I ain't stupid. She know I ain't going to let her go to like Africa by herself. What if she get ate by a lion?
Okay.
Right? And then,
It depends on what lion.
Also, whoa!
It depends on what lion.
Ain't no. It better be damn Mufasa. I tell you that. It better be Scar. You know what I'm saying? It roaring and everything.
And with roar.
And then, you know, a lot of laughing over there. Anyway. I can't be the dude that let my wife go on vacation by herself and get eaten by a giraffe.
Okay.
We gotta change that. I don't like this analogy. I don't like what's going on. But I'm just saying, and so now I was like, okay, now I gotta take trips and you gotta do these things. And that's like a very simple thing. But you do have to like learn who you're with and try to adjust. I just don't, like I don't know, I feel like everybody has to try to adjust. And sometimes we're so stuck in our ways and so stuck in who we want to be. And I have for a long time as it pertains to work. You know, like I've always just been somebody that felt like you work hard and you provide and you do all of these things. And I never really wanted to step away from it because I feel like stepping away from it takes away from the opportunities I have to advance. And I'm having to learn those things. And I'm trying. You know, I'm still not very good at it. But you try and you kind of just see where you can compromise and still be holistically and whole as yourself, but also help complete someone else in a way to where they feel like somebody's there living a life with them. And I think for a long time, I just like, as long as we're married and as long as I'm taking care of home and as long as I'm a good father and I'm present and all these things, then it's good. But you got to focus too more on a relationship, which is something, and she gets mad at me because she's like, you're just a dumb somebody. Like, I got to teach you that too. Yes!
I like her.
Don't. She not on the show. I'm on the show.
I'm
You gotta like me.
describing a person that I really can relate to. I like her.
But no. So I think when you get into discussions though, and like you have men on the show, and you know they're going to be on, like what's your thought? Is your thought, okay, we're going to interview this guest? Or it could be like, these are conversations I want to have. Yeah. How do we get to those conversations? Because you also got to realize you got to use people. You might have something you want to talk about, or you might have something you want to talk about that you don't feel getting into by yourself is something people are going to listen to or want to hear from you. But if you piggybacking and bouncing something off of a guest or somebody else, now you get to have the conversation you wanted to have anyway. And I think, and like that's what I do a lot of the times, is try to get people on the show who are relevant, who their current issues in life are issues I want to talk about, and then it allows me to get my thoughts out as well.
Cool. So
you ask all the questions. Brandy don't ask no questions.
I'm telling you.
I like it.
She have all the personality off camera and I don't. And then when we hear,
I love it.
You a bump on the Lord?
I'm just boring. I'm a grandma.
She's really not.
I am. I literally go home, go to work, get in the bed.
Nah, but what you
every single day. That. Every day.
Why you always gotta act like you the innocent one? And
I didn't say I was innocent. I said I'm boring. Like,
boring.
I'm boring. Clearly, I'm not innocent. I'm slick.
Oh.
Not innocent. But, I mean,
I think
I'm kind of shy. Like,
she is an introvert sometimes.
Because when I'm out and about, like, I'm doing more observing and, you know, feeling the energy. Like, here, I know the energy. Like, we're friends. Like, you know, so I'm comfortable. It's like a normal conversation.
So when you mention being an introvert, how does that work with you just in everyday life, and going to a party, and going to a restaurant, and entering rooms where there's business being done? Are you one of those people that automatically have kind of a wall up and a predisposition to not be very open and welcoming? Or are you one of those people that as soon as you meet somebody, they feel like a friend, they feel like you're warm, and then you get into understanding who they are and now putting them in whatever place they can be in your life? How do you relate outside of this? Because like Brandy's your friend, so there had to be something that drew you two together, some sort of initial conversation, some sort of initial interaction. In your everyday life, though, how do you present to other people?
So actually, it's really weird. I'm not a people's person, but people are attracted to me. So people come to me, and I'm not rude or anything like that. So if you talk to me, I'm going to talk to you, and then we see what we relate about, and we go from there, and that's just how it's been all my life. Like, I have a lot of friends. I move a lot, so I make friends on all of my jobs. I keep all of my friends. Like, I still talk to my friends from when I lived in Dallas. I go to their weddings. I go to their baby showers. You know, like, my friends in Houston, I still go and see them when I'm in Houston. Like, I don't know. I just have a weird personality. Like, I'm an introvert as far as my everyday life. I pretty much live a routine life. Like, I go to work, I go home, and that's it.
So how are you as compared to that?
So I've always been
A free spirit. She get up early in the morning, knock on your door, make you fix breakfast, leave, walk in the fresh water, meet a bunch of strangers, take a bunch of pictures, send you this, call you, ask you about 1,000 things, have a nervous breakdown at about 2 o'clock. At about 4 o'clock, she's picking up her child. She's in mommy mode. She's acting like a chef. By 7 o'clock, she don't want nothing to do with a child or a dog. She getting dressed up. She going to sit at the bar in Houston, drink a lemon drop. A lemon drop and a half later, she calling my phone. Because you know what? 2 weeks ago, you had an attitude. And I'm like, you know, and that's how it goes.
So that's every day. That's Monday through Friday, basically.
This usually happens like on a random Tuesday.
Okay.
She call my phone while I'm at work, and she know I'm at work. Like, that's my life. I live a routine life. She lives a free spirit life.
So you don't have. So what things do you have to keep you from being free all the time? Though? Is it work? Is it being a mother?
It's a mixture of things. So like, I kind of just. I go with the flow. Like, I'm not a person that likes to do the same thing every day. I like to do different things. Kind of like what you said, like, it's so many other things you can do. So why are we sitting here this long? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to play in the same for 10 hours. I want to do something else. I want to, like, I literally would go out to eat, fly out of town to eat, come back. I like that. That's my energy. Like, you know, every day is different. Even on the job, like I might go into work, I might go in the shop, bust a couple of hours, then I'm out. I'm doing something else. I'm outside, but I'm working. So I'm always working, even if I'm socializing with other people. Like, it's the thing. Like, there's no way you can communicate, get things done, especially with being an entrepreneur. Like, you literally have to be able to kind of be very diverse, very open. You know, everybody may not understand that energy, but that's how you continue to maintain, to be successful, to know what direction to learn people, to get in the minds of others. So she, even as a kid, she would always be like I've always been on the move. Like, I'm always thinking ahead. Like, it's just a thing. Like, I can't stay in the same place. I feel like you get complacent. Like, people always say, how the hell you finished school and did this with kids? I was 16, but at the end of the day, I knew I had to work. I had 2 jobs. I got one on this hip, one on that hip. I'll drop one off over there. You know, I've never been that person to allow things to make me feel guilty. Because what happens is, if I feel guilty, I'm never going to get anything done. That means my whole life is going on this one person. Don't get me wrong. You get consumed with some things that you're attracted to, that you want to live, that you want to do. That's how I wound up in my situation for 10 years. But with that being said, that's 2 like-minded people. You know what I'm saying? So you tend to kind of do things to kind of make sure that you continue to progress. Like, I feel like sitting still, you just kind of like, you don't get to like live your life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you're living for other people. It's not a bad thing. Like, she's boring, as she would like to say. I'm not. Like, I like to turn up. I'm naturally wake up in the morning and I wild. My kids know my daughter is
But let me ask you this. When you had your most insight and your most healing, it was when you were
sitting still.
Exactly.
But I don't want to sit still all
So
day.
my thing is, do you think that being so busy and keeping yourself occupied is escape?
But that's not why I do it.
I know it's your personality, but I'm
No.
saying in some instances.
No, because I promised myself this root that I wouldn't consume those things with work. That's the only reason why I was able to heal. But now I'm here, I can't do other stuff.
What did you do last week?
What I was
Stayed
doing?
in the house all day.
Well, I stayed in the house
every day.
No, that's the reason
all
why I
day.
had to do that. Though. I had to sit still so that I could figure out what was my next
My
move.
point.
You understand what I'm
That's
saying?
when you get your most insight.
But I don't want to sit still all the time.
I be sitting still. I mean, like,
But I don't want to be there.
like a
I
corpse
want to be
sometimes.
all around.
Sometimes I don't move at all.
That's boring.
I know, friend.
I don't want to sit still after I done figured it out. I figured it out so that I can hear from God. Seriously.
I know, friend.
After I hear from Him, and I go and do left, right, you know what I'm saying? But after I hear from Him, and I get the job done, the mission is completed, I want to go and do other things.
But you can't hear from him till you sit still. That was not one.
I get that. But
All right.
so let me ask you
Okay.
something. Do you think running all over the place, sitting still too long is complacent?
It is. Didn't I start moving around and finding my own little thing? I have my own little thing going on.
Oh, girl, but Lord.
So for
That's a ride.
no, like honestly, that was why I asked the question because I was talking too much, and so I was like, okay, and so I was like, hey, this is how we're gonna have a conversation. Are there things, or what things do you take from Brandy then? Because I feel like in any friendship, there has to be some balance to where I can gain something from someone, and not in a way that's, you know, that makes me a user, right? And I also don't necessarily want to drain the energy off of somebody else, because then they can't be themselves, or they can't be as whole, or they can't reach their potential. You have to be able to add to what somebody is, or to who someone is. What are some of the things you do take from B? Because in your sense, you're saying, okay, you move around a lot, but when you sit still, now you can hear. What things do you take from her that you feel like can implement into your life and make your life different in a positive way?
I love the fact that she is a risk taker. Me, I'm so logical in my mind, so where
You're absolutely
progress.
illogical.
No, I'm not.
If you can't let an argument go, then
I
you're
didn't say I couldn't
illogical.
let an argument go.
If you have to,
We going back to tickling because we are done with tickling.
no, it's not even tickling. In the sense of logic. So here's my thing. Can logic override your feelings? Then you're illogical.
Okay. But listen, logic, just like you said, I can understand your perspective, but still feel how I feel. So it's
Like logic and perspective are different.
Well,
if there's a logic that says, like, if you're mad at me it's very simple, for crossing the street, and you feel like, oh, that car almost hit you, RC. Why'd you cross the street? And you're mad at me. And I say, well, I crossed the street because I looked at the sign and it said walk. And because it told me to walk, and even though that car was 30 feet away, I walked because that's what the sign said. You should no longer have a feeling about it. You should no longer feel like I'm mad at you, or I have some sort of ill or negative feeling because you walked across the street. But you know what happened? Black people don't like being scared. And now, because I done scared y'all black people, the logic of me seeing the freaking walk sign, this car being 30 feet away, it ain't my fault it almost hit me. It's his fault. And then you'll still be like, you still shouldn't walk across the street.
Babe, but we can move on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. So, back to...
I'm sorry. What do you
Thank
take
you.
from me? Because you're illogical. At least we know that now.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, y'all.
Yes.
Very.
The Ryan Clark Show. Featuring Flip Lips.
Cheers.
So, I love that she is a risk taker. Like, she's gonna figure it out and all that. Me, I will talk myself out of some stuff just because I don't have that I'ma just see what's up. Like, I don't have that. I'm not that person. Like, if I can't come up with a whole plan and a happy ending, then I'm scared to move forward. That's just how I am. That's why my business hasn't gotten to where it needs to be. Like, I'm working on that, but I love that about her, because even when Be Lucid is not doing what she wants it to do, she just reinvents it. Like, I'm not creative like that. So, I like that about her.
Time out. It's Be Lucid?
Yeah.
I be calling it
Lucid.
Lucid.
Everybody.
Man, I need like a comma or
it's backwards.
Or a dash.
I do everything backwards. Oh,
wow.
I something new every day.
Yes, I swore it was Lucid. Do you have a fear of rejection? Or failure?
I have not a fear of failure. Like, I will start over all the time. Like, I'm fine with that. I don't care about anybody else's opinion. It's my own self. It's not so much of what other people feel. It's how it makes me feel when I fail. But I'm still okay to start over. Like, I just talk myself back into the game and, start over. But I would like to get to the point where I'm not starting over. Like, I would like to get to the point where it actually progresses and becomes what I want it to be, whatever it may be in my life.
So let me say this. So even as it relates to the podcast, that's why I push so hard. Like, I really watch what you do on the show. I watch the way you draw in. I like in the beginning stages how Alicia had to tell you, hey, I can edit, I can do this. So I pay attention to that. However, I tell Deshauna all the time that the only way that this show is going to grow, you have to come up out of yourself. It's not that you're hiding anything, and I understand that. But the only way that this show is going to work is that being your vulnerable self, because people doesn't want to have those boring conversations. Nobody don't care about what you care about. They want to talk about what's going on in society. You do it every day. You see that it's constantly working. But the only way that you can actually go out and get that information, you got to leave your family. You got to do some uncomfortable things. I don't mind being uncomfortable. And in order for us to get where we need to go and elevate, we got to get uncomfortable. Every time, and I tell all the time, I'm a person of emotions. I feel everything. I can be sitting in a room and I be like, hold on. And they don't even understand, but I can pick it up. I can feel it. So immediately I kind of fix the situation. She may not understand even in the podcast. I told her, I said, D, I said, listen. I said, let me take care of the podcast when it comes for me to do my part. I said, because I need to, but my goal was to show her without telling her. So I took everything, I made sure that it did what it needed to do, but I had to wake everything up out of me to do that for us. And I'm willing to do that because I understand her position and I understand how, how people say, I don't care. I really don't give a fuck. But the people that typically say that, like her, I feel that she cares. But the way that she approaches it, I feel like it's a coping mechanism to kind of suppress it. And if you continue to suppress it, you're never going to come out of that full healness, that potential of yourself, because you're not a risk taker is my point. So yeah, like I always would tell her, like I tell my kids, I'm not going to be the only one to say I don't want, and my mom about to graduate from college in May. She's 60 years old. But I told them, I said, that's not going to be my story. We're going to finish together. Everybody finish high school, my son in college. I'm going to finish college school. I'm going to travel. Because when my life stops, I tell them all the time, my heartbeat going to stop by itself. Now, we might die in a car accident together, but your heart might go out quicker than mine, or mine might go out sooner than yours. So I'm very strong about that because I feel like our ancestors, people in the past, they have used that as a crutch to not be successful, not to get the things that they wanted to attain. And that's unfair to the human being of itself. I tell my kids all the time, I am a human. Yes, I'm your mom. It's a title. But you're going to go out and get what you need, and I'm going to go out and get what I need. But here's to this, my question to that is, being that you're a father and your son is coming up into football, what do you see? And I'm sure you tried to instill things in him that you could have taken different approaches on. What does that future look like for your son?
I think his future is his, and he's going to have to map that out himself. Like even now in dealing with transfer portal. He's graduated from college and other schools being interested. That was his decision. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter if I think a place is better. It doesn't matter if I think he has an opportunity to be seen more or to get more publicity or whatever it is. I don't get to tell him what his next steps are. What I do get to be a part of and what I was a part of is his foundation. And that's what's important to me. I'm not trying to teach a man how to play football. I'm trying to teach a man how to be a man. I'm trying to teach a man how to work. I'm trying to teach a man how to sacrifice. I'm trying to teach a man how to understand that there are certain things in life that are extremely uncomfortable that you have to do in order to feed your family. That's what's important to me. The sport, as in football, I just know so much about it that that's the way I can communicate those things. And even when he was coming up, Jordan woke up every day in high school, every week in high school during the season. On Monday and Tuesday, he was up at 6 o'clock to train. On Wednesdays, he was at school. He was at the facility after school. On Thursdays, he was getting treatment and going to do cryotherapy because that was the way I saw being able to be successful in football. But I know if I laid these things out for him and he said, okay, this is what I want, if he's willing to do them, then if there's something down the line that he wants again and he gets the requirements of being able to acquire that, he will understand he can do those but actually exceed what's being asked of him. So that's how I saw football. Like, as far as whether he's good or not, like, I don't care. I care for him because I know he don't want to suck, right? I know he wants to be great. I know he wants to excel. So I care for him, and that's why I hate watching the games, because I can't watch it and enjoy it because I want so badly for him to get everything I feel he deserves, everything that he's worked for, more importantly, everything that he wants. But when we are involved in other people's lives, we can't make them us. There are ways he reacts to things that are genetic because I'm not the only part of his genetic pool. And then there are other pieces of him that are genetic that his mother does not want him to have, right? She wants to be, for him to be different than me in a lot of ways. But because I know certain things that I wasn't taught, because I know certain things that I wasn't told to put a value on, that I struggle with still, I teach him differently. I raised him differently. And now, it may be stupid because I may not have grasped these things myself still, right? But me not being able to grasp them, or me still struggling with those demons, or me still having to deal with those things I'm not good at, said, I don't want to put you at the deficit I was at, so let me help you. And that's what parenting is about. I think that's what friendship is about too. But the other piece of our lives is accepting people, right? Like, we gotta accept them, because and if we don't accept them, we actually have to get rid of them, right? You know, and that's the hardest piece, I think, for all humans, because we love each other and we care about each other, and you grow these certain bonds, but we also want to change each other all the damn time.
Don't change me.
And we can't. You know what I'm saying? Like you can get a person to adjust their actions if they care about you. You can't change them. Right. Because it's who they are, right? It's who they were raised to be, it's who they picked up on different tendencies of life to be, or who they want to be. It's whatever it is that makes them them, we don't really get to change it. Like, we get to adjust it because we get to say, you know what? When you do this, I don't like it. Then they get to make a decision that based on you not liking this, I can change it, or I can do something different. It doesn't mean that's not who they are anymore. You know? And so what happens is, when that thing pops up again, we don't look at it as, man, you know what? For the last however long, I know you've been dealing with this thing and you've made the correct choice, or you've made the choice I want you to make because of me. And now that you've slipped back into it, or you've done whatever, I either can look at it as, all right, I've watched you for this period of time work extremely hard to not be something, or to be better. Or I can look at it like, right now, this shit hurts, and that's all I know. Right now, this is not what I want to deal with. You are not who I want you to be, and that's all I know. Which is the way women work. No, and this is not, and I know I'm mansplaining this, but in general, we are, like in women, you actually, like the past only matters when the past is negative. Right? Like we don't get, like you don't get check marks. Right? So it's not like, right, I have a really bad habit of not closing cabinets. And I don't know why. It's just something about closing it and that extra step that feels really difficult for me.
It's very aggravating to walk in the kitchen.
He's definitely making it up.
No, I'm actually not making it up. I don't close cabinets.
Because you don't want to.
I just forget. No. Because I feel like when I get the cup out of the cabinet,
you just got what you needed and
well,
you gone.
the most important part is getting to the coffee.
Oh.
Right? And so I'm so excited about the move from the cabinet to the refrigerator that I forget to step in the middle. Right? But I know that's a bad habit of mine. So let's just say though, for like 2 months, I closed that moment. Right? If I started closing it in January,
loves the drama,
right? And we get to April, and you ain't had to tell me all of April. Now, I'm sure that sometimes you got to close the cabinet and you don't tell me. But say I don't have that, right? And then April, I leave it open, and you tell me.
It's like you right back in January.
Yeah, like why the hell I'm in January? Girl, I didn't close this cabinet for 3 months.
Because it's like, I thought he finally got it, but here we are again.
Right, but see, and so that's my point, to where my brain works like, man, honestly, like for the last 3 months, like you've been really solid, and like I know that that's part of you that you can't really necessarily fix or doesn't come to mind for you. So I appreciate you working for 3 months, but people are different, and I hate to keep describing it as male or female, because sometimes it's just like masculine energy and feminine energy, you know, and that could be woman, man, whatever it is. And so I think, yeah, real talk. Hey, real talk. And so like that's the thing that, and the other thing is too, my question is, right, like, what's the time limit on things? You know, because you mentioned your heart stopped beating, you know, as I am getting older, and I said this when Damar Hamlin passed.
Yeah.
You know, when I was 24, you couldn't have convinced me that dying was a possibility. Even though by that time my homeboy had shot himself in the face on the levee when I was 18. You know, I had dealt with other deaths and of people my age. It just never felt personal to me. Like it never. I was like, oh yeah, come on, that's not going to happen, or I'm not going to do that. And so I think I'm 27 at the time, or 28. I can't remember my exact age, but I was faced with dying. You know, and that changed my perspective on a lot. In the sense, like it changed my perspective on like, it's always when we are talking about relationships, whether it's friendships or parental relationships or romantic relationships, like that's always the thing, like the person you want to live with or the person you can't live without. And all those things, I think, hold on, my wife is texting me. I'm sorry, my wife said I said Damar Hamlin passed.
Yeah.
I didn't, my bad.
I didn't want.
You should have mentioned it.
I was gonna wait until.
But here's the other piece. He actually died.
He did. That's
Twice.
what I thought you meant.
Yeah, he actually died twice. No, I didn't mean that, but yeah, I felt that way. No, I was wrong. Like he's still living. Thank God. Because I know there's conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin is still alive, guys. I
alive.
didn't mean passed.
He's
when
not
when he
on ESPN.
was injured.
Yeah.
Okay, but like in that, you know, people focus so much on like what they can live with, what they can live without, and in having an opportunity to be faced with death, you know, like I know what I thought about in dying, and it was her, and it was my kids, and it wasn't much of nothing else. And you think like you have that realization, and so when you get to live again, like you're back to just only thinking that. But nah, then it's like nah, I wanna work, and I want to do this, and I want to have friends, and I want to be here, and I want to be there. And so the logic, right, because we talked about logic earlier, says that I would be smarter and be like, nah, dummy, you almost died and you know you want to die with this woman. Like, why won't you do the things you're asking? Because I'm stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
It's the honesty for me.
Yeah, it's like I do stupid things. And I make stupid decisions or bad decisions, or I'm selfish, or I'm ego driven, or whatever it is. You know? And then it's like, from the outside, there's always a perception of everything, right? And so, like from the outside, married to a woman I met when I was 17, we've raised 3 kids that are awesome most of the time. You know, not all of the time. Sometimes they suck, but I love them. Like I love them like stupidly though. You know, like they do stupid stuff, and I'm like, oh, they're just stupid. And I can feel that because I'm stupid.
And she's on the time.
Yeah, because she's actually not stupid. Like, that's the weird thing. Like, she's always been, you know, like, we struggle because she's always been so damn responsible. You know? And, like, always kind of, like, on it and makes good decisions. And she thinks about other people when she makes decisions. Like, how does that happen? Like, how does one learn to think of other people when they make decisions, you know? And people who are like that actually don't understand people like me.
Right.
You know, like she's like, every time you get off the plane, Ryan, check for your iPad, for your headphones, for this. You know how many iPads I done lost on the plane?
Wow.
And here's the thing, I think I've been checking.
Like, that's bad.
Yeah, I'd be like, man.
I can't even say nothing
Because she left her whole suitcase trying to come here. So you know what?
See?
I drove all the way here.
But she's so logical till she's so.
It's because
What are
my
you?
brain don't stop.
D, what you mean? I left suitcases in the kitchen. I left a garment bag in the mud room.
And the whole suitcase?
But I be prepared though. You understand?
Me
Like,
too.
Were you prepared?
I'm gonna take a picture of the suitcase. It's so pretty. It's all rolled up. It's so pretty. I'm gonna take a picture when I get. It's so pretty, and I know exactly where it's sitting at.
so what did you come here for?
This in the ball last night.
So did you have your gown?
I had nothing.
And she left our other chain.
We were supposed to change and take more pictures for more content. I left. I had nothing but the clothes I had on.
Good for you. Don't you feel free?
I do because you know how I look at it. I didn't. Back in the day, I probably would have had a nervous breakdown. It'd been dramatic, but as I've gotten older, I just feel like I reaped what I have sown into others. So I was a good big sister to my little sister. So my little sister came through and helped me out and brought me the things that I needed. My friend did what she needed to do to make sure everything went away. A person that I have done business with gave me a dress and everything.
Was it what kind of business was it? Because
She braided my daughter's
oh, it's a
hair.
she.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not tickling. No tickling involved.
I'm just saying, you know.
No tickling involved.
When somebody's a good tickler, like you probably get him a dress.
No. It was
Get all kinds of dresses.
It was a she.
She got so many dresses.
You better hope you'll be able to tickle when you leave too. Cut up. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yesterday, when she was like, I was like, well, babe, you know, we're going down. I was like, I'm gonna go down at 9. I was late. I apologize. And do the podcast. And then I said, and you and Logan, that's our youngest, who's the only one at home. I'm like, y'all can come meet me for brunch. Well, Logan doesn't. I've learned Logan really don't want to hang with us like that. But like Jordan hangs with us, and so I thought Logan would too, but she don't really F with us like that.
The girl.
Yeah, and so she was like, well, I'm gonna come with you. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to censor myself. And then I thought to myself, oh, she knows who the hell I am. I ain't gotta do that. All right, so you forgot things, and life turned out okay. How does that in any way change your perspective on like having to control everything?
Yeah, I feel like I don't control shit. Nothing go my way.
Why did you
Goddamn thing, not a relationship. Nothing goes my way. I just go with it. Whatever it is.
How does nothing go your way?
Nothing go my way.
That's an impossibility.
I'm being dramatic.
But you just already said you're not dramatic.
I
You
didn't
don't
say
want
that.
this show to be dramatic or messy.
Messy. That's what I said.
I know.
It's gonna be dramatic if she's sitting here.
So you just said you were dramatic, but it's only dramatic. The show's only dramatic because of her.
I get all the hits.
That's what I said.
Why?
She always taking it out. But I gotta roll with it.
Yes.
And I'm okay with it. I'm willing to take them.
Thank you.
Been taking them for about, 20 years.
So my question to y'all about the podcast in the space. If you're saying that you feel like she needs to open up and, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but be more vulnerable and express more and show people who you are. How do you feel about that? And do you think you're capable of doing that for the sake of this? Right? Because it would have to mean that this matters to you in order to come out of that shell, because you're going to have to force yourself if that's not who you are.
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna give whatever my friend gives. Like, I'm not just gonna let her give everything and me give absolutely nothing. Like, yeah, it would just have to be a different approach. Probably, like, she would just have to probably not pull it out of me, but basically like interview me or something like that to make me get to the point to say the things I need to say. Like, we're just different. So, but yeah.
How do you intend to help her do that then? Because like you look at like our show, right? Yeah. Our show. Going into the shows, I normally know, just because I'm around them all the time, I know what Chan's going to say about certain things or Fred's going to say about certain things. If we're having a 3-man show where we get an opportunity to expound on what we think. And so my job is to put them in that place, right? Basically, I'm the point guard. I want to throw the alley and put it in the spot so they can dunk it. Now, if they don't respond to my setup the way I need them to or want them to or in my hopes, then that's on them. But I understand how to put them in that spot. So how do you see yourself helping her get into those realms, in those spaces of being able to be that open?
So it's pretty much like I've been doing with our friendship for a very long time. It's not that I'm allowing her to have her way, because she has definitely spoiled me throughout the years. She's the mama of everything.
Mama.
Yeah. But I make sure that I respect her space. I do know how to pull things from her. Sometimes I have to manipulate her just a little bit to kind of make her see my point of view, because I'm so rough and rugged, and she's like, I don't like pressure, but let me kind of work my way through. And I'm like, I'm willing to take that back seat and kind of let her navigate her way through to feel comfortable. And once I see that she feels comfortable and I know how to make her laugh and I know what to tell her to draw in, I'll allow that. But again, one thing that I learned from you is that just watching the show, sometimes people doesn't want to be in that space. So when she doesn't want to be in that space, I allow her to have her moment. Although it may hurt my feelings, I'll be like, man, this mother always won't give up and just let it go, because that's how she is. She's like, listen, I don't like it, I'm over here. And I gotta like draw back in and stuff like that, but I'm willing to do that because I love her that much. And I want her to see that we can bring this further. None of this is by accident. Like I tell her all the time, like, I'm not really starstruck by anything, but however you all agree, like literally, like you're doing really well. You on major platforms, and to have you here, we're definitely honored. But speaking of that, let me come right back. Give me a second, because Fred's not the only one. Hold on. Fred's not the only one. Freddie T not the only one.
First off, Freddie T is the gentlest soul in the history of souls. We can open you up though. I think you want to open up. I think you want to talk.
I'm okay with it.
I know.
Speaking of that,
look at this.
We're gonna give you your flowers
from Blue City. I feel like a beauty queen.
So Freddie T, you're not the only one that gives flowers. We give real flowers.
Freddie T, look at this. Freddie T, you better step your game up, dog.
And they blue.
Look at that. And it's not from Blue City. It's from Being Lucid. Never knew that.
That's great.
Never knew that. Because they are beautiful. These are amazing. And so I think, I guess my advice to you guys as we close it up is just like, you got to think about how bad you want this as opposed to how bad or how much that'll make you feel like you're not being true to yourself. I think we all want to share certain things. I know a large reason why I don't share some things is because everything's not about me, right? There are some of my experiences that involve other people. And out of respect and love for those people, that's not everybody else's business. So I have to be extremely smart about how I use my experiences. I use the things that I've learned from whether it's making mistakes or my successes to share with other people. You have to measure success. You have to measure that with impact. And also you have to measure that with what do you want, right? Do you come here and y'all want to sit in front of each other for therapy, or because she's your friend, or because like y'all just enjoy talking to one another? Do you want to have a conversation that's impactful or that people learn from? Or do you actually, and do you want this to be something that can become a success where people actually tune in to learn things about you or to enjoy the content you give them? Because if you do that, the other businesses that you want or the other things that you're doing, like those things grow, right? Like since I've started to pivot, like I've done network TV for 7 years, right? This is my 8th year. I wasn't on Tamron Hall because I worked at ESPN. I haven't gotten some of these opportunities because I played football. We've been to Pelicans games before, right? And I will say, like, part of it is like DeMar Hamlin. Part of it is continuing to grow at my craft. But like, they ain't never took no picture of us and been like, hey, let's post it on our page. But now it's different, and it says sports media extraordinary. Like, those are things that have continued to grow as I have, but part of it is the podcast, yes. Right? Part of it is being able to be seen in a different space that people are used to seeing me in and watching me share different things. And so I think we have to, the hard part about this is, right, like even sitting here, like there's certain spaces when we were doing things like correcting what I said about DeMar Hamlin that I realized cameras on. The point is to talk like no cameras on.
Yes.
Right? The point is that we're just having a conversation and you have it in a way that's still entertaining. That's scary because now I can let out a ton about myself that I don't normally let out publicly because I'm having a conversation with a friend. And it's like I go to therapy every now and then. I'm sure my old lady wish I went much more. And I think when you're talking to someone who doesn't know you and who doesn't know you well enough to pull out certain things or pull out certain feelings or make you think deeper into yourself than you want to at the time, it's very difficult to get to the root of some of the issues. Whereas y'all being tight, man, like if y'all can have some of those conversations, it's beautiful, but it's like, all right, I'm putting myself out there. Like I enjoyed it because, I don't get to be the guest very often. And when I'm the guest, like I don't get to really necessarily have as much fun. And I also enjoyed at certain spots of this conversation getting to ask y'all questions to learn about y'all. But y'all gotta remember, like y'all want to get to a point to where people learn about y'all. Whether it's Blue Sit or leaving your suitcase, and I'll come back and because I am, and I just want to be honest, I'm so great at remembering the lyrics to songs.
Are you?
I get all the lyrics correct.
That sounds like it's not true.
A human jukebox. Thank you so much.
It's not true. His wife.
You know what? I don't like forget the lyrics to songs. I hear them differently than other people.
I do too. I say all the wrong words, and I love it.
That's funny though. Like when you think a person is saying Like, it's like, yeah, I said a lot of wrong words.
Yeah, it's
as long as they rhyme, I think it's okay.
I've been saying that the whole time. Like this morning we was listening to Lauryn Hill. I didn't know she said that. But my lyrics actually made sense as well. And she uses them in the song later. So actually I was wrong, but I was right because I could have been right later.
See, this is why you don't be tickling. Because you be tripping.
Yeah. I feel like if I lost more discussions, I'd probably get to tickle more. You know, but I just feel like, you know what I mean? Like, man, like, is the tickle always worth it? You know,
better be.
You know,
You better say yeah right now.
You know, it's like, do I have to tickle at 6 o'clock when I can work my way back to tickling at 9:30 and get my point across?
That's crazy. Now, see,
You know what I'm
you're
saying?
the problem. That's
Oh no,
right now.
I'm the problem.
You're the problem.
I've never, guys. When have I sat here and said I wasn't the problem? I'm the problem. But I need her to help us get to the solution. That's the
solution to you is tickling. That's it. The end.
The end.
We done.
By the way, tickling solves everything. I don't care what nobody says. I be trying to tell her. Like the other day she was sick and I was like,